Hello everyone, welcome to a new video on the channel. Thank you so much for choosing to watch this video. I do hope you enjoy it. In today's video, I'm going to be overviewing the Western Bulldogs 2022 season after the disappointing elimination final loss to Fremantle over the weekend. I'm going to be giving you my thoughts on that match. I'm also going to be giving you my thoughts on the season overall. And I'm also going to be giving you my thoughts on the off-season. So, let's get straight into the video. So, let's start with Saturday night. I could not be more disappointed with the result and the way it occurred in the elimination final against Fremantle. It's the way it happened that gets me and hurts me as a supporter. To be 41 points up to go on and lose by 13. How does that happen? The doggies, they looked on. Absolutely on early. They were doing everything right. Kicking the first 6 goals of the game. Keeping the Dockers goalless for a quarter and a bit. But then once the Dogs conceded 4 quick goals in a row, it was game on. By a blink of an eye. It was game on the verge of halftime. And then in the second half, it just fell away even further for the Dogs. They could only score 2 goals in that second half. Dogs had a lot of opportunities inside 50, but most of the time they were just booting it high inside the forward 50 to a contest. The Dockers weren't allowing any space or the ability to mark it within the contest, and that's what the Dockers do so well, and that's why they're one of the best defensive teams in the competition. And they went on to win the Dockers by 13 points, and good on them. They deserved to win the game in the end because they were better for longer. You can't just play for a quarter and a bit and expect to win. You just can't in an AFL game, let alone a final. It was an opportunity missed for the Dogs in the end. They had the opportunity to win it, but then once the Dockers got momentum, and once the Dogs couldn't break it, and once the crowd and the energy and the atmosphere coming from the crowd got involved, the Dockers would have thrived off that as well. And good on them. I wish them all the best for the rest of the final series. So besides blowing a 41-point lead, there were a couple of other things that frustrated me as a supporter. So the first thing, when the Dockers got momentum, I felt like the Dogs did not have another plan, a plan B or a plan C to wrestle back that momentum. Now, I might be wrong. I'm not inside the club. I'm only an outsider, but I can only judge from what I watch. And it seemed to me like the Dogs didn't have another plan to wrestle back momentum. Another thing that frustrated me, 5 minutes to go, Dogs down by 12 points. Dogs looked gone, absolutely gone. It became quite clear that the Dockers were going to win. But it's only a 12-point margin. I wanted to see the Dogs do something different. Take a risk. Go through the corridor. Go low inside 50 or something like that or something else. Just do something different. Be risky to try and get a goal on the board and keep the game alive. Because you score a goal and bring the margin back to 6 points with 4 minutes to go or 5 minutes to go, all of a sudden it's game on because you go back into the centre, 6-6-6. You can win it out of the centre if you're good enough. But the Dogs just kept going wide, long, and it was just frustrating as a supporter. Don't get me wrong though, I'm proud of the Dogs and the way they had a crack, especially early, because there were a lot of people especially commenting on my stuff saying the Dogs were going to get smashed, this and that. They weren't smashed. They had a crack early, and I'm proud of them for that, and I really appreciate that. But, yeah, to blow a big lead like that and then lose, it's an opportunity missed, no doubt about it. So, overviewing season 2022 for the Western Bulldogs, it's fair to say they probably haven't lived up to the expectations of a lot of people who had them in the 8, even had them as high as top 4. I know I had them in that category, but in the end they only just scraped into the top 8. And it's amazing that they did in the end because they were so inconsistent throughout the course of the season. They lost 3 of their first 4 games. it took them until round 9 to string consecutive wins together. And then even when they did do that, they'd then lose again, then win a couple more, then lose a couple more. It was just a season filled with so much inconsistency, and that was the problem throughout the whole season. And if you're going to be a good football team, you need to develop winning habits. The Dogs did that last year. They won frequently in season 2021 in their grand final year. But this year, there was lack of consistency, and that was a huge issue, and that needs to be improved next year. I look back at some of our results. The Adelaide loss by a point at Ballarat. No offence to Adelaide, but the Dogs really should have been winning that. There were a couple of good wins, though, throughout the course of the year, like Melbourne late in the season. Such a gritty win, but unfortunately, it was a season filled with so much inconsistency. Another issue this season was defence. Throughout the course of this season, it was so easy for the opposition to score against the Western Bulldogs, and it was so easy for the opposition to go from one end to another and score. That's alarming, and that cannot happen moving forward, especially if the Dogs are going to be a good team next season beyond. Defence needs to be improved. It cannot be as bad as it was this season. You look at the top 11 teams, the Dogs were the worst for points against, and that includes the teams that missed out on the 8. Carlton, St Kilda, Port Adelaide. Defence has been a real issue for the Dogs in season 2022, as well as the lack of consistency. So let's move on to my off-season thoughts. I'll start with the review. It's been revealed over the last 24 hours that the Western Bulldogs are going to conduct a review. I'm not sure if that places Luke Beveridge under pressure or not. I know there's a few Western Bulldogs supporters in the camp of get rid of Luke Beveridge, sack Luke Beveridge, etc. I'm not really in that camp. I think that's a bit of an over-exaggeration because I think he's a good coach and, you know, you only have to look at what he did in 2015, 2016 when he came to the club. He's a very good coach, but yeah, anyway, I think it's good that the Dogs are doing a review because I think you need to look at what's working, what's not working, and why the Western Bulldogs have not met the expectations this season. Now, player movement. There's a lot of speculation about players possibly leaving the Western Bulldogs. Josh Dunkley's the big one. I've been quietly confident that he's going to stay, but the longer it goes on, the more I'm unsure about it. He's a great player, and he would be a big loss if the Western Bulldogs were to lose him, which is why I think the Western Bulldogs should do everything in their power to try and keep him. He's so good in contested situations. He tackles. A large amount of pressure that was applied in the first quarter and a bit on Saturday night was due to the tackling of Josh Dunkley. His pressure on Saturday night was outstanding. He can float forward, kick goals. He is a machine. Dogs need to do everything they can to keep him, and I hope they do keep him because he would be a sad loss. So what players do the Dogs need to get in the off-season to improve the team, improve the list? Well, there's one priority, and that's a defender. A good, solid, key defender. Now, Ryan Gardner, for me, has been the best tall key defender for the Dogs this season. He keeps his place without a doubt next season for mine. He is a bit underrated at times with his spoiling and other aspects. It's been speculated that Liam Jones could come to the Western Bulldogs. I think he'd be a great get. I think he'd be a great addition to the defence. We saw what he did at Carlton before he then had to leave. So good in the air, judges the footy well. He would be a solid addition to that defence, and it would be a bit of a fairy tale signing in a way, given he started his AFL career at the Western Bulldogs. He's a Tasmanian too, so I would definitely love him to come back to the Doggies. Rory Lobb's another one that is speculated to come to the Western Bulldogs. Just not sure where he fits into the team, though. That's my only little concern. Does he go forward when you've got, you know, Bruce, Aaron Norton, Jamara Ugle-Hagan, Sam Darcy, all tall forwards that can play in that forward line. Now, Sam Darcy can go back if he needs to be. Josh Bruce, I know he had a poor year this year, but don't forget he came back from a long-term injury. Wouldn't be surprised if he has a very good preseason and comes back bigger and better next year. Aaron Norton's obviously a lock for the forward line next year. And Jamara, well, he had a promising season this year when he played. So a lot of forward options. Does Rory Lobb go back or does he pinch hit in the ruck? I don't know, but he's too good of a player not to get. So I'm definitely not against the Western Bulldogs getting him. Do the Dogs need another small forward, potentially? Someone that is dangerous enough to crumb and kick goals. Obviously, we've got Cody Waitman, we've got a few others, but I feel like we need just another good, solid, small forward, because it can't always be up to the tall forwards. You know, they can only bring it to ground sometimes, and that's where the small forwards need to do their work. So I'm not sure who they get in that department. Time will tell, I guess. I think the Dogs can get back up there next year and be a solid football team. I'm holding the faith and I've got the optimism, but it has to start in the off-season. You have to get the off-season right if you're the Western Bulldogs. You have to focus on the areas that need to be focused on. Defence is one of those big ones. Get the recruitment right. And I can see the Dogs being up there next year because they have the list to do it already. Just some improvements, I believe, will get the Dogs back up there next year, in my opinion. Let's hope I'm right. So there you go. That's my in-depth thoughts on the Western Bulldogs 2022 season. It has been a disappointing one, but at the end of the day, it is what it is, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how the Western Bulldogs respond in 2023. But for now, I'm really looking forward to the rest of the AFL Final Series because the last 3 weeks is set to be a cracker. But anyway, thanks very much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up, comment down below, and don't forget to subscribe. But until next time, bye for now. And go the Doggies!